promoting businesses and organizations to help them reach their full potential. Lighten the path to the success of your business. Enhancing the lives of our listeners by talking about things that matters most. Helping you to shine your light emotionally, mentally, spiritually, socially, and physically. Spreading positive vibes. You've got it locked and you're listening to Light Vibrations, brought to you by Light Communications right here on CBN Radio 90.9 FM. And now your host and our director, Natasha Letza.
Hello, you got it locked and you're listening to Light Vibrations here, chilling with me, Tasha T. And our guest today in the house, in our studios, we have a mental health professional, Mr. Archer, here on the program today. Thank you for joining me, Mr. Archer.
Good evening, Roxy. It's always a pleasure to be, your company. And to you listen out there, top of the evening to you as we get on with our discussion this evening, and I hope you enjoy it.
And we can have a mental health professional here on the show and not talk about some of the mental health issues that we are facing now. On Light Vibrations, we've been having a lot of shows where we're talking about, relationships and, the things that, don't go so well in relationships and the impact it's having on life. In a few shows, we talked about abuse, we're talking about unhealthy relationships, we talked about building healthy relationships, and to me, one aspect of that is mental health and the mentality we go into into relationships with. So Mr. Archer, start us off. What are some of the things that we should look out for when getting into a new relationship to make sure that the person that we're getting involved with has a healthy mental health?
Okay, first of all, whether the relationship is new or whether it's a long-term, short-term, one of the things that people have to realize is that communication in a relationship is very important. I think the breakdown in the relationship comes with poor communication. People seem to have difficulty communicating with each other, and that shouldn't be. You should be able to discuss anything you want to discuss with your partner. You don't always have to agree on everything, but you have to show respect for someone else's opinions, even though you may not agree with it. And I think that's where a lot of people fall short. Having differences in opinions without being able to compromise or not wanting to compromise, Tasha. And that is something that we can broadly discuss as we go on.
Well, awesome. So we're talking about communication, respect for opinions, and compromise. And in passing some time back, I noted that somebody saying that we have a lot of unsung or unsaid expectations that we don't share with the other person, but then expect them to live by these expectations that we have that we don't discuss. Is that an issue as well?
It's an issue because if you kind of try to put your expectations too high of someone or a situation, then you might become very disappointed to the point where you might get depressed as a result of not getting the result that you hoped for or that you were looking for. So sometimes you have to kind of keep things into perspective. There's anything wrong with having, your expectations high, but you always have to bear in mind that, you might not really reach that pinnacle or that goal you might want to reach, but you might get close. And you still have to bear in mind that you have to work around those things and sometimes not look at it as a disappointment, but look at it as just a step closer to where you want to go.
The thing with expectations, to me, and I've been seeing a lot of memes go around on Facebook talking about, if you don't expect anything, you won't get disappointed. I mean, while that is true to some regard, but what kind of life are you really living if you don't have expectations? And what are you really setting up yourself for if you don't have standards? So a part of having expectations and standards is basically, to me, a guide to propel your life in the direction that you want it to go. If we don't have these, then we're just wandering around aimlessly in the dark. And I know a lot of people, think, because I think this is popular to try to be, as low maintenance as you can in a relationship where, people jump in and out of relationships like a game, basically. That's cool, but to me, when you hold yourself to those type of low standards, you're really stifling your growth.
Yes, you are. I want people to understand that, there's anything wrong with setting goals or setting high expectations, but at the same time, you need to be aware that don't try to compare yourself to somebody else. Don't try to think that what might work for some person might work for you. It doesn't always work that way. You have to look at the whole relationship in its entirety, and what you need to do to make your relationship work for you. The relationship might not always involve you and your partner, but there might be children involved. There might be other family members involved that you have to care for, and that can have a bearing on the relationship in terms of how you and that person get along. And there's always a big issue with stepfathers and stepchildren, and as they grow older, the issue sometimes escalates into a lot of negativity. But there's also the reverse, but those are things that people need to be aware of. So yes, having standards, having yardsticks, having guidelines, those are things that need to be in place. But don't think that it's an easy road. Okay, it's a lot of stuff that you have to work through to reach those goals, and to attain those standards that you really want to attain.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad you're on the program, because mental health and wellness is very important. And as we look around society today, a lot of discomfort and discontentment is born out of bad relationships. Now, to the beginning of the program, you talked about communication, and communication being a big aspect of building a healthy relationship, and basically leading yourself to mental wellness if you're in a relationship where you communicate and people are transparent and what's not. So if everybody knows, because from time you talk to somebody, first thing sometimes comes up is communication. That communication. Why can't we communicate effectively if this is one of the first things that people look for when they're looking in relationships? Okay,
firstly, I want people to understand that effective communication simply means saying something to some person that they understand clearly what you have said to them. Now, there's so many different things that can affect communication. Okay, the environment that you're in, the state of mind, the state of mood that you're in. Okay, selection of the words that you want to say to put over, the message that you want to put over. So there are a lot of things that affects communication. Something I want people to understand, and that causes a lot of conflict within families, within relationships, is you cannot communicate effectively if you are angry. You cannot communicate effectively if your partner is angry and you are angry both at the same time. It just can't work. Yeah. You can only communicate effectively when you are in a frame of mind. Okay, a frame of mind that would allow you to do that, and that's being calm, cool, and collective. It takes two to make an argument. Yeah. Mm-hmm. If you want to argue about something and your partner want to argue about something, then there is no understanding, there is no respect, there is no compromise, there is nothing. So therefore, you have a conflict. Mm-hmm. Okay. If you are angry about something, try not really to address it the same time. Try to address the issue when you cool down a bit and you can see it a little more clearly than when you were angry, and perhaps then you might be able to get over your point in a more positive way. So that's a way too of helping to alleviate some of the issues That comes up with the communication.
And wonderful point there. I like the point that you made that, when you're angry, try to speak or try to identify your issues when you're not angry. To me, how in my in my past and just my life experiences, when you're angry, it's similar to when you're drunk. The words that you say is exactly what you mean, but you really don't have the heart to say it, or you don't have your the barriers up that would allow you to say it in that way. So I feel whatever is said in anger is true. So by you kind of stepping outside of the situation and calming down, you reframe, you refocus, and you get an opportunity to express. Because to me, in what you say is how you say it, and how, whether or not you're callous with my feelings, or whether or not you're loving in what you're saying, whether or not you're trying to help me get to a better outcome that what I might be experiencing now, versus you trying to belittle, downgrade, depress, and treat me like a child in an instance. So, but for people who try to walk away when they're angry, or sometimes you just have to have the conversation now. And one person, in their good mind saying, listen, they don't have no time for this right now, and they want to walk away, and the other person prevents them. Women we famous for that. We want to stop the man from leaving the house, or you gotta come now and you have to talk now. What would you say to these persons?
What I would say to those persons is that you have to be, you have to give and take sometimes. That is what relationships are all about. It can't always be about you or what you want or what you think you need. Yeah, you have to give and take sometimes. There are going to be disappointments in the relationships. That is how life is. And I'm gonna say something now that I said on the radio before, and I'm going to say it again. We are human beings. We are not isolated creatures. We're social beings. We're governed by feelings and emotions, okay? That is what makes us human beings, yeah? The problem comes when we lose control of those feelings and emotions, which can happen very easily, all right? And that is something that we have to always bear in mind, yeah? All the issues that you might face in a relationship, you can work through. There are always solutions to the problems that you're having. The difficulty is finding the solutions. For sure, you can't find the solutions if you are angry or overly upset. You can't find the solutions like that. You can find the solutions when you are in a quiet, peaceful frame of mind, where you're able to think, where you're able to extrapolate, okay, and where you're able to come up with ideas that would help you through the issues that you're going through. And that is something that people need to understand.
And when we're aiming to reach to the next thing you spoke about, which was compromise, how do we effectively compromise during these times? Because I know, some people compromise means conceding. Compromise means one person winning and the other person losing. And for it to be an effective compromisation, is both parties have to win. So how do we go about having, effective compromise?
Okay. In terms of having effective compromise, one of the things that people need to understand, in any relationship, it doesn't matter, in any relationship, there's always going to be a dominant person. That is just how it is. Now, remember, the man is not always a dominant person in a relationship, and that is something people have to understand. And as men, we have most of the time inflated egos, and we always feel that we should be in control and so on and so forth. Yeah, that might not always be true. That might not always be the case. At times, as a man, you have to step back something and say, hey, okay, my wife or my woman or my partner is right in this case, and I really think I need to follow her lead. There's anything wrong with that. That doesn't make you less of a man. Okay? And on the other hand, now, women sometimes can be very headstrong, which is a bad thing, but at the same time, they still have to come to the conclusion that, hey, perhaps my husband or my boyfriend or my significant other is correct, and I really need to follow him. Okay, even if you follow cautiously, there's anything wrong with that. But that is where the compromising, that's where the effective compromising comes in, where you go into it with an understanding that, hey, I might not agree with everything that is happening here, but I'm going to give this thing a chance to work. Okay, and perhaps if it doesn't work this way, we might be able to try something else different, but at least you find a starting point. As soon as you find a starting point, that's a start in the right direction.
And one of the things that's going on a lot right now in relationships locally is that there's a power struggle within the relationship over that dominant person, and who is the dominant person and what is the role of the dominant person. If the man wants to be dominant in the relationship, he would have to carry the strain of the relationship through the relationship and not trying to be dominant in one aspect of the relationship. And like you said, for a woman to follow a man, he has to show himself to be the man in all aspects, not just the man because you're physically strong or you want to control the woman, because a woman wouldn't have respect for that. We need to know that the men that we have in our lives are capable of leading. And I think that's why a lot of the power struggle is like, women always think that they're smarter than men, and they have more initiative. And when you come across a man who a woman has to constantly be telling one or two things over and over to, because they seem like they lack initiative or they seem like they lack drive to propel the family where they need to go, then that's a whole other can of worms right there. And what do you say to these men who are in a family structure, have their significant other, are supposed to be the leaders within the family, but no, now they want to take on a secondary role in one aspect of the relationship, but want to dominate and control on the other hand?
First of all, what I would say to these people is, whether you use a man or whether you use a woman, if you want to be the dominant person in the relationship, or if you want to be the leader in the relationship, you need to understand that leadership comes with a lot of responsibility. You have to be a person that willing to live up to responsibility, and this responsibility include giving and taking, compromising, directing, overseeing, making sure that what needs to be done is done, and not necessarily what you want to do. Okay, leaders have to take on a lot of responsibility that goes beyond what the relationship might even require. Okay, and that is the responsibility of a leader. So if you're not a person who are willing to go that extra mile, go the distance, then you can't really be the responsible person in that relationship. That is just how it is. Yeah. Sometimes at night, when everybody's sleeping, you as the leader in that family has to be up doing something, even if it's just making sure that all the lights turn off and the water and running the place secure. Make sure there are no mosquitoes in the children's room. That is just how it is. And then early, before everybody get up in the morning, you are up early, starting things, running off the ball and making sure everything in order. Okay, so it's a lot of responsibility. And the difficulty comes when people in leadership, roles, don't really want to take that kind of responsibility. You just want to probably give orders, but it doesn't really work like that. You can't be saying that people, do as I say and not as I do. No, it can't work like that. You have to practice what you preach, okay? And that way you get people to follow you, but not only follow you, but you get people to be more positive as you go forward.
Definitely. And another aspect I wanted to touch on that you said earlier is you don't force people.
No,
you don't force people. You outline your requirements. You try to lead by example. You try to put the other person first. You try to make them comfortable as well, because in a relationship too often we're selfish. So if we be selfless and we try to put the other person's needs and feelings above our own, and if those needs and feelings are reciprocated, that's great. But if you find that you're doing and you're asking and you're pleading and you're telling this person about, your grievances and, some of the things that you're seeing in the relationship that's going wrong, to no avail, and now you want to threaten them or force them or, somehow coerce them into doing what you want them to do, that is wrong. And I like to say that the only person you're responsible for is yourself. And what you need to do as a person is you look, if you could deal with whatever the person dealing with, whatever they're doing to you, if you're okay with that and you could accept it, if they never change, you stick it out. But if you know you can't deal with it and a person ain't changing, maybe it's time that you cut your losses. I mean, how do you deal with stuff like that from your arena?
First of all, let me say in closing, I'll see that in any relationship, you're gonna have boundaries. Okay, people in a relationship need to understand their boundaries, need to know their boundaries. Okay, and so long as you know what those boundaries are, okay, then it makes it easy. It makes it a little bit easy for you to navigate your way through that relationship. Okay, anytime you try to go above those boundaries, then that's where the problem starts, because you start then to invade on people's let's say privacy, if for want of a better word, and you can't really do that. You have to respect a person in the entirety, not just for one thing or another. You have to respect the person totally. Okay, and when you don't do that, then that is where you find some conflict start to come into play in the relationship. Yeah, I'm not saying that you're going to be in a relationship with a person and you're going to know everything about the person. You can live with a person for 30 years and you still might not know everything about the person. That is not the point. The point is that there are some things that you have to know about the person, okay, and you operate to suit. You know the likes and the dislikes, okay, and you operate between the lines so that you doesn't cross those lines, and everything should be okay as you go along.
No, we have to talk about this since I have you here on the program, right? We know that here and around the world there are many single parent homes, there are many broken homes, there are many female leaded homes. Women, single mothers usually lead these households, right? And you hear it even up to this morning. You're hearing the cries of the women out here who are single parents, and the fathers seem to be absent. The fathers seem to, if they give the woman $100, they seem to think they're doing their part, and that's it. You give a little bit of money whenever you want to, and you think you're doing a good job. So what type of impact is this having on the mental wellness of mothers and the stability and the mental wellness of these children?
Now, first of all, I want to address this from a historical perspective first. Over the centuries, they always had wars, yeah? So the men would go off to war fighting, kill each other. The women are always left behind to raise the children, okay? That was happening from the beginning. And I think that would always be happening because human beings are a warring culture. That's who we are, okay? So you're gonna always have a lot of men dying every year and the women left behind to take care of the children, which is a very stressful thing, yeah. But at the same time, yeah, children needs both parents. They need guidance from the mother and they need guidance from the fathers, and those fathers that are left behind, okay, need really to take up the mantle and be a little more responsible than they are being right now. Yes, they may think that giving financial support is all they need to do, but that's not all that a child needs. A child needs love, support, companionship, okay, a father figure to emulate. Yeah, children need role models, Okay, and as you know, Roxy, there's a lot of stuff going on in our societies today now that are really um, degrading or fracturing the fabric of our society, and we have to address some of those issues on another show. Okay, but in relation to the fathers and the responsibilities now, yes, the men need to step up a little more to the plate in terms of looking after the children, and I think the only way they can do that really is if someone can instill into them that that they will have a responsibility. I think that a lot of fathers don't really think they have a responsibility in terms of rearing the children. Yeah. The financial responsibility seems to take priority, and even then that's a problem too. Yeah. But I want to say to the men out there that finance is only one thing, but the children need to see the physical presence of the father as well. Okay, to help alleviate some of the stress and the discomfort that they may be having as they grow up.
Mm-hmm. And what about this step parent thing that you brought up earlier as well? How does that fit into the whole grand scheme of things? And what tips would you give to both parties who would be introducing a figure that's not the biological figure into these children's life? And what can they look out for to ensure that these people are good people and would treat their children right?
Okay, I think one of the things that people need to do is to find somebody that can be a role model for your children. Try to find someone that your children can emulate or can look up to. I'm not sure how easy that is to do, because when people form relationships, they form relationships for all kind of different reasons. Yeah. So I have to be careful of how I approach this in terms of being judgmental on somebody, because I don't want to be judgmental on anyone. Yeah. But in going forward, I think any parent, man or woman, forming a new relationship would want to find somebody that can really fit into their family situation. Somebody that they think the children might be able to look up to. All right, that might be the goal. Yeah. But yes, still in between there's a lot of relationship building that has to go on. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It takes some time, it takes some effort, but it can be done as long as the persons involved are willing to be positive in the approach, to how they want to deal with the new families that they might be entering. And yeah, I think that is one of the ways that we can go about trying to alleviate some of the problems might come out as a result of those new relationships.
Mm-hmm. Well, Mr. Archer, I want to thank you so much for coming on the program today as we, try to get a more balanced approach to building healthy relationships and, take a look at some of the root causes of what might cause us stress or, mental discomfort when dealing with situations, and how to deal with them better so that, we could have, healthier relationships. So before I let you go, I give you this opportunity to make any final thoughts.
Yeah, Ross, it's always good talking to you. We always have good discussions, But in my final thought here, what I want to say to you women out there, and I know something gonna be vexing me, but I really don't bother about that, because I call a spade, and that is just me. That's how I operate. Okay. I know you women are very strong, even much stronger than men emotionally. Yeah. And you're able to deal with multiple things that men tend to sweep on the carpet. Yeah. I want you women to understand that life isn't easy, but at the same time, because you're having difficulty, you don't have to give up or settle for mediocrity in a relationship. Okay, you have to set a standard for yourself. Okay, and let somebody follow your standard. Okay, if somebody think the standard you're setting is too high, then I think you really need, or you really ought to let that body go. All right. If you want to follow somebody who have a higher standard than you, well, I think too that is the correct thing to do. All right. But at the end of the day, and as Roxy said earlier, you have to make that decision. It's going to be all up. It's going to be all up to you. Okay, and make sure your standard is a good standard. Not try to go above your expectations, but make sure your standard is a high standard, and a standard that you are going to follow, and not a standard that somebody necessarily want you to follow. So that's just some food for thought coming from me here. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You had it locked, and you've been listening to Light Vibrations here, chilling with me, Tasha T, and our guest today, Mr. Archer. So we want to thank you guys for tuning in, and please join us for the same time next week as we continue to bring you life-changing information. Thanks again for tuning in.
Thank you for tuning in to Light Vibration, and don't forget to tune in this time next week as we continue to bring you life-changing information. Until next time, shine your light.